I'm Dennis Gage. Thanks for tuning in to My Classic Car, home of the certified car nut. Well, this week I'm at Mount Washington, New Hampshire for the Climb to the Clouds Vintage Hillclimb. Now, the weather isn't that great today, but that sure didn't stop these guys from bringing out some truly awesome vintage racers. Mount Washington Road opened up in 1861 and saw its first hill climb in 1904. The rain's gonna make it a little bit tougher today, but hey, it's gonna be interesting. Check this out.
The Mount Washington Vintage Hill Climb has an incredibly cool history, and we've got the footage to prove it.
The Climb to the Clouds was an auto race up a mountain. The mountain was New Hampshire's Mount Washington, the highest peak in the Northeast and the grandest of the Presidential Mountains at 6,288 feet above sea level. The race course was the 8-mile Mount Washington Carriage Road, now known as the Mount Washington Auto Road. The Carriage Road was the world's first mountain toll road, and other than hiking by foot, the only way to the summit was in horse-drawn mountain wagons. Building the road was an enormous task. The nearest source of supplies was 8 miles away, and all transportation was by horse, oxen, or on the backs of men. Dynamite was unknown. Black powder was the explosive, and blasting holes were all drilled by hand. There was no machinery to handle the countless tons of rock and gravel that had to be moved. The gala opening of the road took place on August 1st, 1861, making the Carriage Road the oldest man-made tourist attraction in America. After the road was opened to the public, its business doubled every year until 1869, when the Cog Railway was completed. For years, the cog carried more passengers than the road, and it took an unexpected new development to turn the tables: the motor car.
Welcome back to My Classic Car, and our look back at how it all began for Climb to the Clouds.
The very first motorized ascent was by Phelan O. Stanley of Stanley Steamer fame in 1899. The inaugural Climb to the Clouds was held July 11th and 12th, 1904, 7 years before the first 500-mile race at Indianapolis, and 12 years before the inaugural Pikes Peak Hill Climb in Colorado. With its average 12% grade, auto manufacturers believed that the Carriage Road would be the perfect proving ground to demonstrate the ability of their horseless carriages. The vehicles ranged from 2 to 60 horsepower and were placed in classes according to price, up to $18,000. Timed 30 minutes apart, the racers drove the tight, twisting course at speeds reaching more than 20 miles per hour. Spectators on the summit of Mount Washington craned their necks to see each approaching car as it rounded the sharp corner of Homestretch Flat and sped across the finish line to the crack of a pistol and the swish of a rocket. Many well-known drivers competed in and won the Climb to the Clouds, including Cannonball Baker in 1928 and 1932, and Carroll Shelby in 1956.
Welcome back to My Classic Car.
So George, this is a 1928 Stutz?
Yes, it's a Stutz Blackhawk.
Man, what's powering Stutz Blackhawk?
The power in this one is a double overhead cam, straight 8, 322 cubic inches, 5.3 liter. And it has racing camshafts, 4 Winfield carburetors.
Now these were built in
Indianapolis,
In
Indiana.
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, Indiana, yes.
Now this one's yours, but today your son was driving it, right?
Yes, my son is driving this car today because I'm driving the number 77 Stutz, which is a
big day for Stutz, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, right.
Have you run the Hillclimb before?
No, I've never run this particular Hillclimb before. I've run Mount Equinox and
In this?
I run Mount Equinox in this particular car, yes, right.
But how is it, how is it today in the rain? I mean, that's a wild road up there.
I know, but it's extremely bumpy. We normally run the tire pressures somewhere up in the 30s, 30 pounds, 35, 36 pounds. I'm down to 23 pounds tire pressure.
Just trying to stick.
It's trying to stick a bit. It's so rough. It is incredibly rough, bouncing around.
Pretty slick?
Slick, rough. Yeah, it's exciting.
I bet it is. So interior-wise, oh wow, I didn't realize it had all the engraving and everything on the dash.
Yeah.
And you're just a big Stutz fan?
I've been a Stutz fan for years and years. I have a Stutz Phaeton also, that was the first one I bought. But I've been doing vintage racing for about 20 years, and I thought I'd see how we could do with a Stutz.
Now you did well today with this, is that right?
Not this particular car. I wasn't driving this car. I was driving the number 77 car, and we are the 4th fastest time of the day within 2 seconds. The fastest time is 5:49, and we're 5:51.
That's pretty
So
respectable.
it's pretty good, considering the other cars are all in the 50s, and this is a 1929 car.
Well, George, you got a heck of a car.
Thank you.
Well, John, beautiful day for a race today.
It's the only kind of day for
It's
a
the only
race.
kind of day. Now, you've been you're from around here, right?
Originally,
Originally.
from New York City now.
Wow. So, I mean, and have you run the Mount Washington race?
I am a rookie.
Oh boy.
First time.
Oh boy, and what a day to do it.
Well, I think there's only one day out of 4 that they expect sun here, so.
And it's not today.
And it's not today.
We got all sorts of stuff here, and you've got a car that stumped me. What is your car?
This is a 1952 Lazarino.
Built where?
Built in Argentina by a coachmaker named Lazarino in the early 50s, and was commissioned to compete against the Maseratis and Ferraris that had sort of taken over the Argentine road racing scene.
Wow. Well, now is it an aluminum bodied car?
No, it's actually steel bodied, all aluminum interior, lightweight wherever you can make it, and had been competed in the 50s and then found itself in a barn sometime in the late 60s, and was discovered about 2 years ago.
Well, what powers it?
It originally it was built with a flathead Ford V8.
This doesn't look like a flathead Ford car.
The second owner, who I tracked down in Argentina, said he changed it over to a Chrysler Slant 6, which was, and all of the running gear is Argentine built, stamped in Argentina.
Wow.
Chrysler had a plant there, and
So it's even an Argentine Chrysler?
Argentine Chrysler. It's got Holley carburetors, stamped Argentina on them.
Wow.
And some unique work. He built these wheel designs. I've been told are off of Bugatti.
Wow, and it got venting right here.
You can see that he captured a lot of the aspects of the early 50 Italian racing stuff.
Well, that's a loud one. Can we have a look at the engine?
Sure.
So a Chrysler Slant 6. That
It's
is
a Chrysler Slant 6.
so wild to see that in there, even with headers.
But the headers and the exhaust manifold, I think, is remarkable. I mean, it's obviously was made and
That's a one-off.
one-off exhaust manifold.
But it's a steel body. How much does it weigh?
It has an FIA license, so I can drive it anywhere in the world in any vintage competition. And the license says 950 kgs, which is about 2,100 pounds.
Wow, little rocket. Is it fun?
It is fun, and it runs.
How's it do in the rain?
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. Well, I know you need to get running. Let's button it back up.
Thank you very
much. We'll get you on the road.
Thanks.
Welcome back to My Classic Car.
Jim, a 50 Allard, is that right? A 50?
1951.
1951.
1951.
That's a little dirty. It's seen
yes.
some action today, right?
We got it dirty. I mean, it's bad enough they can't keep me clean. I can't keep the silly car clean.
How was it going up the mountain?
It was actually pretty good. The first run was a little scary. We had the tire pressures too high. And when you get the tire pressures too high, the road, as you probably know, is pretty bumpy.
Yes, yes.
And so it tends to dance from bump to bump. And when it does that, you don't know whether it's going to go this way or that way. And with a reasonable amount of horsepower, it'll get your attention. So we dropped the tire pressures considerably. And not that it's worth a whole heck of a lot, but we were fastest time of day today.
That's great. That's great. And it sounds great going up there, too. I mean,
thank you.
These are
You're
such
very kind.
wild-looking cars. Now, they were built... Where were they built?
They're built in England.
And they're aluminum.
They're aluminum.
Because this is a J2, right?
This is a J2.
Can we open it up?
Sure, let's.
Not sure I would have expected that. But you can get it. I've seen these with a lot of different engines. What's the deal on the engine selection in Allard?
They used to come with the Ford flathead V8, which would make about 85 horsepower plus or minus. Once they got the idea to order the cars with whatever engine the customer wanted. So it would come in with no engine at all. And then the dealer would put an engine in. Usually up to about late 51, it was a Cadillac. And that's what we've got in here. It's probably benefited from a little bit of modern knowledge. We found it in a basement in Seaford, Long Island. It was cut, the body was off, it was cut into about 8 pieces. There was not a bracket left on the chassis. We didn't have any interior. I think we had the remains of a steering wheel. We had some of the gauges, but not all on tube.
So you really had to bring this back from the dead.
It was dead.
It was dead.
And we saved it, and it's back. It took 6 years.
Well, hey, Jim, it's an awesome car,
Dennis,
and you
truly.
ran strong today. It looks best with the mud on it, I think. I mean, that's,
And it's easier that way because I don't have to clean it.
There you go. Good luck in the next race.
Not to worry.
Thanks
Take good
again.
care. Thanks a lot.
In spite of some less than optimal weather, the climb to the clouds was truly an amazing event. Vintage hill climb up Mount Washington, great car show, and all in beautiful New Hampshire. You really should consider coming up here and checking out this piece of history.